Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're peeling back the biological layers of something pretty much all of us are obsessed with, music. We're going to explore exactly why a specific arrangement of invisible sound waves can literally give you chills, how it completely hijacks your physiology, and why your constant, ever-present background playlist might actually be acting as a dangerous modern drug. It's a completely fascinating journey into the mind, so let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We're looking at the biology of musical pleasure, emotion, rhythm, and tonality, the psychology of taste, hormones, heartbeats, and moods, music as a modern drug, and finally, brain waves and intentional silence. Kicking things off with Section 1, the biology of musical pleasure. Why exactly do we love random vibrations? Well, to answer that, we really have to look at what sound actually is. When you get right down to it, it's quite literally just physical vibrations traveling through the air. Our ears capture these invisible waves and convert them into electrical signals that get fired deep into our auditory cortex. But, it's really our brain that does the heavy lifting here. It takes those raw, completely chaotic incoming signals and organizes them into a familiar, recognizable form. Because above all else, the human brain is a massive pattern recognition machine, desperately trying to make sense of the noisy world around us. And that organization process, that is exactly where the pleasure lives. When we hear harmonious music, rather than, say, just the random clatter of a construction site, our brain immediately goes to work. It becomes this little prediction machine, constantly guessing the next beat or the next note. And when it guesses correctly, or when a composer surprises us in a really clever, pleasant way, the brain rewards us. It releases a massive rush of dopamine right into our reward center. That's the exact same biological circuitry that lights up when we eat our absolute favorite food or experience something thrilling. Think about that tension you feel right before a massive beat drop in a song and that wave of satisfaction when it finally hits. That is pure, unadulterated biological reward. Moving on to Section 2, emotion, rhythm, and tonality, translating sounds into feelings. This brilliantly illustrates our instinctual evolutionary programming. To our brains, major tones sound incredibly similar to a cheerful child's voice or a laughing friend. They signal that we're safe, kind of like a bright, sunny day. Minor tones, on the other hand, well, they sound slower, lower, and a lot rougher. Instinctually, our brains interpret these acoustics like the rough growl of a giant or a looming predator in the wild. It feels inherently dangerous, like a dark, cloudy day. We don't even have to intellectualize it. Our brains are deeply, deeply hardwired by nature to associate these specific physical sound patterns with immediate safety or looming danger. Which brings us to Section 3, the psychology of taste. Why our playlists are so completely different. Now, musical taste is undeniably chaotic. It's heavily shaped by the culture we grow up in, our age, and the environment we're exposed to. But research actually shows there are some fascinating correlations between our innate personalities and our playlists. Introverts and highly creative people, for instance, often lean toward complex genres like classical, jazz, or indie music. They're seeking intellectual and emotional depth, a real internal journey. Extroverts, conversely, often chase external social energy and physical activity, gravitating toward upbeat, highly rhythmic pop or dance music. Now, obviously, these aren't unbreakable rules. An extrovert can absolutely love a calm classical piece to unwind, but the broad trends really tell us a lot about the kind of energy we subconsciously seek out to balance our daily lives. And this dynamic completely debunks a wildly popular myth, the Mozart effect. For decades, people have eagerly believed that simply listening to classical music magically increases your IQ and makes you a certified genius. But the reality? It just provides a highly complex, novel stimulus. When your brain encounters a totally new or highly detailed acoustic structure, it's forced to pay closer attention to study it. This gives you a temporary boost in alertness and focus. So, it's a novelty effect, not a permanent upgrade to your intelligence. Unfortunately, playing Mozart for your houseplants won't suddenly teach them calculus. Let's look at Section 4, hormones, heartbeats, and moods, the physiological impact of sound. Did you know your body physically involuntarily responds to audio? Incredibly, your heartbeat will literally attempt to synchronize with the rhythm of the track you're listening to, a process biologists call entrainment. Because of this, music acts like a master dial for your hormones. Calm, meditative music physically slows your heart rate and actually reduces cortisol, the primary stress hormone. On the flip side, fast, energetic music can instantly spike your adrenaline, increasing your physical endurance and pain tolerance, which is exactly why you'd be hard-pressed to find a gym playing slow acoustic ballads, right? And interestingly, sad music creates a biological fork in the road. It can trigger a pleasurable dopamine release if you're in a safe headspace and simply appreciate its beauty, or it can cause a huge spike in stress hormones if you're already in a chronically stressed or anxious state. So it really all comes down to a simple, absolutely crucial concept. Music is not the cause, but the effect. It's like a seasoning for a dish that may already be spoiled. Listening to melancholic music doesn't inherently cause a depressive state. It merely acts as a powerful amplifier for what's already there. If you're already looking at the world through a negative lens, sad music will season and severely heighten that apathy. But if you have a healthy, grounded mindset, you can listen to that exact same sad song and feel a profound sense of nostalgia, human connection, and even euphoria. All right, moving into Section 5, Music as a Modern Drug, the Dark Side of Endless Streaming. The number 30. I want you to think about your own listening habits on your morning commute or maybe while sitting at your desk. If you find yourself violently skipping tracks every 30 seconds, constantly searching for the next beat, completely unable to focus on a single song from start to finish, well, you're experiencing something very specific: dopamine tolerance. See, in today's hyper-connected world, we use headphones as this convenient little shield to drown out the noise of the city, the chatter of the office, and most importantly, our own internal thoughts. By bombarding our ears with nonstop, endless auditory stimulation, we are massively overloading our brain's pleasure system. This constant, desperate need for quick content and new audio stimuli develops behaviors that closely mimic the clinical symptoms of ADHD. We're essentially using music as an unregulated behavioral drug. It creates a digital addiction that severely fractures our attention span, ruins our patience, and honestly makes us far more irritable when we're finally forced to sit in silence. Which leads us nicely into Section 6, Brainwaves and Intentional Silence, reclaiming your mind's natural rhythm. Our brain actually operates on a clear, really beautiful hierarchy of electrical frequencies. Down at the very bottom, we have delta waves, which dominate during deep, restorative sleep. Right above that is theta, the realm of dreams. Then comes the alpha phase, that peaceful, relaxed, waking up state. Higher up still is beta, used for normal, active wakefulness, and finally gamma, which is reserved for intense, laser-like focus. But here is the modern tragedy. When we wake up and instantly grab our phones to blast music, check messages, and doom-scroll social media, we force our brains to unnaturally and violently skip right over that absolutely crucial alpha wave phase. And skipping that alpha phase, it comes with a massive compounding cost. It's the exact biological reason you might feel inexplicably irritable, chronically anxious, or completely burnt out by noon. To function properly and process emotions, your brain absolutely requires intentional periods of total silence. The most vital time for this is the first hour of your morning. It really should be entirely screen-free, music-free, and profoundly silent. Embracing silence and allowing yourself to just be a little lazy in the morning restores those deeply creative and relaxing brainwaves that constant, relentless stimulation just totally suppresses. Of course, we live in a noisy, chaotic world, and sometimes we need a little help. If your attention is completely shattered right now, you can use steady white or pink noise to mask sharp acoustic irritants, which genuinely helps a scattered brain focus on a single task. Or there's brown noise, which is much deeper and rumbly, and that can be incredibly useful for helping you fall asleep if you live in a loud city. But remember, as genuinely helpful as these tools are, they're just a temporary crutch to help you cope with overstimulation, not a permanent lifestyle replacement for true, unadulterated silence. Music is an incredible, powerful, and deeply beautiful energy. It accompanies our greatest joys, our hardest workouts, and our deepest sorrows. But after looking at the hard biology and the modern habits we form around it, it's time to ask yourself this final, provocative question. Are you intentionally using music to enhance your life, or have you just been using it to drown out your own inner voice? Take control of your attention, find a little silence today, and make sure you are the true composer of your life. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.